This is a regular meeting scheduled for Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. Note that we started a little late due to extended PP&I meeting.
Yeah.
Good, yep.
Got
Item number 2, public comments relative to agenda items. Are there any public comments relative to agenda items? Any public comments relative to agenda items? Hearing none, move on to item number 3. Approval of meeting minutes of January 18th, 2024. I'm going to ask that a member make a motion that we table these minutes for now. Out a little late, and not everybody's had a chance to look at them. And myself, I had some questions about it. I don't want to do that here at a meeting. We can just what's the right motion?
Motion postpone.
Postpone the acceptance of the meetings. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion been made. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 4, consideration and potential action regarding approval for state of Connecticut financing. This is a drinking water issue. I want to, before we pick up this issue, I've been asked to see if we can consolidate at least the vote on these issues that we're going to hear about them individually. You'll hear all the information that you do about them, but we can put them together, which I think would save us some time. And we'll do that. One other issue I'd like to, before we start, is we did originally have an agenda item on the, for Board of Finance to review the budget. And I spoke to Scott, actually last week, the end of last week. And both, and Bob Barham was going to be out this week, and he was going to be out of state, I thought you said. And then Scott was also at a conference earlier this week, and he asked if we could, postpone the work on the budget. So certainly don't want anybody giving us a presentation that doesn't get the time that it deserves. But I think what we'll want to do is schedule our next regularly scheduled meeting isn't until April, so we're going to schedule a special meeting to work on that, and then we'll try to do it as soon as possible so that everybody can get to that. And was Bob back sometime?
Yes, Scott Shelson. So thank you. Apologize. Bob Barron unfortunately had a death in the family, and his schedule was not quite clear as to what was going to happen. Was he going to be here or not going to be here? So to make sure that we gave it the time that it deserves and you want us to present, we'd like to do it at a later date. And whatever, we're ready as long, but Bob, this week is really a mess for him is in terms of his,
that's why.
Yeah, so anytime that you so choose, we'll be ready.
Okay, and so we'll move on with the items, actually, items 4, 5, and 6. Go ahead, please.
Kelly Shane, Chief Administrative Officer for the district. I'm filling in for Bob. So items 4, 5, and 6 are all grant and loan agreements with the Department of Public Health for the following drinking water projects. We have 2023-7118 is a $6.3 million project for the replacement of water mains and associated appurtenances in the vicinity of Hartford Hospital. A bunch of streets around Hartford Hospital. We're putting in a little over 6,000 feet of 12-inch water main. The total cost of the project is $6,283,000 and change. We're getting a subsidy of about $1.5 million and 2% loan from DPH at for about $4.783 million. So that's about 76% loan and 23.9% grant funding. So we're seeking approval from the Finance Committee to execute and deliver the interim funding obligation and the project loan obligation to the state of Connecticut. You have in front of you a resolution that was for passage to the board and was prepared by bond counsel. So you have three of those. I'll go through the other two projects. Do you want me to stop and see if you have any questions on that project or go on to the
Yeah,
other
you could do
two?
one at a, just stop briefly and just say, is there a question on this one? Then just move on to
Okay.
the next one.
Are there any questions on that project? If I can't answer them, I have Susan here who
Sure.
knows a little more about the projects as well.
Go ahead, Commissioner Adel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The vicinity of Hartford Hospital, can you give us more detail about that?
Yep, so the streets that we're putting in the 6,000 feet of 12-inch water main include Essex Street, the entire length, Jefferson Street from Main Street to Washington Street, that's about 1,700 feet. Retreat Avenue from Washington Street to Essex Street, that's about 950 feet. From Seymour Street, from Retreat Avenue to Jefferson Street, about 800 feet. Washington Street from Retreat Avenue to Ward Street, about 2,000 feet. And that's it.
And being near the hospital, I assume we're making the proper communication with the hospital because it obviously will affect their operations.
Yeah, the project is fully underway. We're about $3.4 million into that construction project already. This is the other half. This is working with DPH. You've already given us the approval to move forward with the project. This is going to DEEP to execute those loans and to start receiving reimbursement for those loans. So yeah, this project is fully underway, correct? Yep,
Thank you.
yep.
Thank you, Chair.
So, and by the way, the Jefferson Street one I noticed because I recently spent a lot of time in Hartford Hospital.
Mm.
I don't know, so it's pretty hard not to notice when you're digging up Jefferson Street. And it's probably the busiest street in Hartford, or close to it. I think Seymour Street is the busiest street in Hartford.
Slower traffic.
But, yeah. But Lisa, I'm sorry, Kelly, before we go on, just a real brief description of what a revolving fund is, how that works. So kids, or maybe commissioners here are not familiar with what that means, what the revolving fund means.
Okay, so the Department of Public Health had.
If I may.
Yeah,
Sure,
sure.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll use the mechanical engineering terms for this and because Bob's not here. But basically a revolving fund, both for DPH and or for DEEP is they give us loans, we pay the loan back. When we pay the loan back, the money goes back in the kitty and they loan it out again. So that's what they refer to as a revolving fund. So, you know, they're making 2% money on us by us borrowing money from them. And then as we pay that back, they collect that money and they reloan it to hopefully us again.
Mhm.
But it's for the state, obviously.
Everybody got that? I'm familiar with it because we did the same thing at the state of Connecticut. But, you know, is everybody okay with that understanding revolving fund? Okay, so that money's there and we use it every year for projects like this. There's consistently a project going. I can't think of a time when we didn't have one going, so. All right, go ahead, John. Thank
Okay,
you.
The second project is 2023-5001 is a $1.4 million project for the inventory identification of service lines. This is actually with CDM Smith. They're inventorying our service lines for the lead and copper rule project. That project is the cost of its total project cost is about $1.36 million. The total project was eligible for this program. It's actually under the bipartisan infrastructure law funding. It allows 75% subsidy. And so we're actually getting the subsidy or the grant in the value of $1,020,000 and the loan, the 2% loan at $340,000. And that's fully underway as well. CDM Smith is going through and identifying all the lines, and we're putting it actually in our GIS system and our SAP system and identifying any lead lines. I know Chris can speak to that as well, or Susan, if you have any questions on that.
Any questions? Okay.
Yes, if I may, and I don't want to steal Commissioner Alice Thundrick, but he sent me an email this weekend over this topic. And this is a big discussion that we need to have at Water Bureau. I don't want to get into the details, but there's a lot to discuss there. And I've already somewhat updated, Chairman Curley and, Vice Chairman, DeBella, but, this is for, this grant is specifically for the, identification. There's going to be a whole nother grant program that will help fund the replacement of any services that we find. So we're going to present that at the Water Bureau on the 21st, and we'll give you a full presentation on that.
And the third is 2023-7123. It's about a $3.5 million project for improvements to the Orchard Street Pump Station in Glastonbury. This is about a 9.5% grant funded and 90.5% loan interest. Loan at 2% interest project. The total cost is about $3.5 million, like I said. So we're looking at, the subsidy is only about $332,000 and the loan $3.1 million. And this is it's water supplied to the Orchard Street Pump Station. We're taking a 12-inch diameter pipeline, a short segment of it, and connecting it with a 12-inch piping on Hebron Avenue to the 16-inch pump station suction piping. Is that right? Did I describe it okay?
Are there any other questions? Commissioner Adel?
So with this being a Glastonbury non-member town, how does that get paid?
So, yeah, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
so quickly, so non-member towns, we always provide the choice for the non-member town to actually pay. There's two issues. One is a petition, like we had recently in Glassbury where customers say we want water service. We go through the petition process and it either gets approved or not through the petition and then through the Water Bureau and the full board. And then the assessments are paid for the water services and the property owners, and then the rest of the money is charged to a CIP non-member charge. So that goes right on their bill. All water customers in that non-member town. Now, in some cases, we always ask the town, they always say no, would you like to pay? And the answer is no. And the reason why is non-member towns say, well, I only have in Glassbury, I only have 6,000 customers on the water side at the MDC, but there's 17,000 taxpayers. So the people who have wells don't want to pay that, which is fine. And almost every non-member town does the same thing. So a CIP charge is applied to their water bill based on their meter size, and that's approved by this board every year. And that is in these cases when we're doing improvements to our system, which have nothing to do with providing additional services to additional homes, the non-member town has no choice. We have to do that. It's an upgrade. It's an improvement to our system. So we have to do that work, and it gets applied the same way, the cost.
Thank you.
I'd say, too, Commissioner, the only exception to that where they also have to pay is for fire service. The town owns the fire service, and so they determine that you need where the hydrants are going and so forth like that, and then they wind up having to pay for the fire service directly for that.
Yes.
Even a member town that has to do that. So.
Yes, the fire hydrant charge is approved by the board, so everybody pays that rate structure, and then certain buildings require fire service. They have a fire meter, and they pay for that as well as part of the rate structure that the board approves for the year.
All right, so I think the proper motion, if there are no further questions, is to adopt all three resolutions, and we can do it with one vote. And the motion would be that the board recommend adoption, and then it goes to the district board. It's got to go to first the district board. So, is there a motion?
Move the motion.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, any further discussion, any other questions? We'll leave the three resolutions as written in the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for letting us do that. I think that saved us some time and not having to vote 3 times, so. Item number 7, opportunity for general public comments. Are there any general public comments for the Board of Finance meeting? Any general public comments? Hearing none. Item number 8, Commissioner request for future agenda items. I do want to say that I spoke just very briefly with John, but I did speak to our new chairman, Commissioner Curry, regarding the schedule of meetings for the Board of Finance for the rest of the year. Mentioned earlier that we can't do this, the budget thing, and we, and appreciate that, but we do need to do it right away, soon. So what we've done, in recent years is to schedule special meetings because we're not going to wait until April 17th is our next scheduled meeting. We're not going to wait till then. So John says that we can do that. We can, we've already sent the schedule to FOI. Is that who gets the schedule? Is that FOI?
The member town clerks.
Oh, okay, the clerks. But is it a state statute that requires that we
Yes.
do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to publish the schedule of the NDC district board meetings and all the committees, which I wasn't aware of all the committees, but we do. So, yeah.
We only have regular meetings. This is John Myrtle. We have regular meetings for 4 of the committees, BPW, Water, Finance, and PPI. So for those regular meetings, we have to publish the regular scheduled meetings.
So, in the little more distant past, as I know, Commissioner DeBella will remember, we used to have meetings every month, and then what we did was if we didn't have an agenda, we canceled the meetings, but at least they were scheduled. But we can go out and schedule out special meetings in between those meetings so that you can put it on your schedule, and then you don't have to wait until 48 hours before a meeting and find out that you got a meeting. I think it makes it a little bit more manageable to do it that way. And I'd ask Commissioner Curry if he would like to, add anything to that. I think we can do that,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have a conversation with John Myrtle, and he's going to contact the appropriate agency to see if in fact we can revise the schedule that we've already provided to the town clerks. And if not, then we can look at it again, revisit it next year.
Well, yeah, and I think that may be fine. And I think as John said, this is just for regularly scheduled meetings. We have the ability to schedule any other meeting that we feel is necessary. It's not like we can't. And we'd like to, publish the schedule. So, but I would like to ask Scott, Scott, do you think you could have, it may be, important to get this review of the budget. I know it's not completely closed out, but we do have the fourth quarter stuff. And so if we did this before the district board meeting, February 5th, if we could get it done next week, or is there some reason to believe that it's okay until after the district board? Because I assume at some point it's got to get to the district board. So I'd like to get it there sooner or later. But
So just to clarify, Scott Chelsea, clarify what you're asking. We are prepared, if it wasn't for Bob, we would be prepared to speak today, tomorrow, whatever day, to talk about what you're asking about. Where are we with the revenues and the expenses outlined for 2023? Bob's prepared to do that. The caveat to that is, you really don't have an exact number until you do the audit. So revenues, we're required to, we can't go beyond January 22nd, and expenses, we're allowed 60 days, whatever the rule is. So we're prepared to answer your questions. If you want to understand, what the exact number is, then that's the audit. That's the finalization. The audit is final.
May.
Yes, May
Yeah.
is, but we
Yeah.
can project to you, and that's how
not
we do
really-
that.
I think the questions that I've received from other commissioners, from members of this body and from other commissioners had to do with the report you put out in November that looked at the level of surpluses as of October 31st.
Correct.
And it was a big number. So, you know, and so, and then the charter says that, you know, Bob, the head of the finance, has to provide like a certificate of, you know, how much of that is real at
Right.
this point, so that, and then it goes in the reserve fund and then we vote to take it out and put it into the new budget or do whatever it is we ought to do.
Right.
So those are the questions, and we got some new members, so I tried to explain it that way. And I think that's really, the main questions were, okay, so did we close the year with that, with those surpluses, or how
Right.
did that go? And I don't think we need to know down to the penny.
Right.
But I do think that Bob's got to certify, you know, what's there for now, and, you know, if
Correct.
something comes in later, he can do it later. So.
Prepared for that.
So I hope everybody understands that, and we'll look at calling a meeting as soon as possible, so the district court has this information as well, once we get it, so.
Mhm.
All right, with that, are there any other commissioner requests for future agenda items? Hearing none, Chair will accept a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Without objection, meeting's adjourned. Thank you. I think that will work,
Yeah.
Scott. As long as he can get that together.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Want a couple hours.
I think